Hi fellas, thought I'd give you an update on the 84 Vet that I've got here in Australia. Picked it up probably about 4 years ago. It's a two-tone blue coloured car. It's been in Australia since about 1996. Had a right-hand drive conversion back then to meet the current compliance thing, but obviously the car's older than 30 years old now, so it doesn't need to be right-hand drive, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change it back because it's just too big of a job. When I inherited it, it needed a lot of work. You know, it was an old car, so I started pulling everything out, and through the D&E, it was a two-tone blue car with a factory D&E transmission in it, so relatively low production numbers for that. So being that there's only 3,000 vehicles with the two-tone in 84, but what makes it even rarer is the fact that there was only about 6,000 vehicles all up in the build year with manual transmission. So that puts it to probably 1 in 179 cars roughly with that package. So my goal is to put it back to obviously the two factory blues, and but I've opted to get rid of the D&E 43 and 4+3, sorry, and put in a Tremec TKO 600 5-speed, basically because there's a really good package. There's a couple of really good packages out there, and I managed to get a conversion kit from Hearst in the US and got it sent to me here in Australia, and then picked up the Tremec from a local dealer out at Warwick. Fast forward a little bit further than that, had the original L83 Sonic tested, and the cylinders were too thin to bore, so I couldn't save that block, but the block's still sitting in the shed out the back. So obviously once I'm done as being custodian of this car, the next owner will inherit it. Not that I've got any plans of selling this car, mind you, but anyway, so that motor was toast. So I started looking around. I thought, okay, well, let's go 427 small block, and just for shits and giggles, just to see what happens. And in the end I opted for a Dart 434 with an Edelbrock ProFlow XT intake and fast engine management, also spark and Dizzy as well. So yeah, it's coming along all right. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on how it's sort of progressing and what it's starting to look like. And it's a bit of a slow process because I only have a few hours on the weekend here and there to get it done, and obviously it's costing a shitload of money. So anyway, I'll flick the camera around and I'll give you a bit of a run around on how it's sort of starting to look and where I'm at the moment. I've just put fuel injectors in it, and I'm just sort of shortening up the wiring harness that Fast has provided as part of the fuel injection kit that I bought. So let's have a bit of a look. Righto, so it's in primer at the moment. I've got the doors off. I wanted to clean all the door jambs up and get all those nice and neat, and I've got new rubbers and everything for it. So I've totally stripped the paint back to SMC, and as you can see, it's starting to come along fairly good. The paint was all right, but it had been done before. It was done like a second time, and it was getting thick, and it had a few blemishes in it. I could see past sand marks, and yeah, she wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It had stone chips and everything in it. So you can see I've got the glass off, so everything's off. When I like to paint, I always pull all the hardware off. To me, if you leave the hardware on, you're not really doing the right job. So you got to get it right. Yeah, sound system's in there, believe it or not. She works. She's cranking. Haven't got the doors sorted yet because, as you know, the speakers are in the doors. So I do have the speaker enclosures made for that, but obviously it's not on. They're not in because the doors aren't on the car. So goal is, while I'm waiting for this primer to go off, I usually leave it for about 90 days. That way there's guaranteed to be no shrinkage. And this is its second coat of HS primer, and once that goes off, I'll be ready for colour. So I'm just going to tape up to roughly this line here, and do the jambs, and then do the inner doors, which are outside. See the hood there? All the doors are outside, just sitting on the cradle. Sorry about the shakiness. I had a few beers last night. Yeah, so once they're done, I'll put some colour on it and rehang the doors and then get ready to do the outside. But that's in between what I'm doing here, so oh, there's a shitload of stuff here. There's wiring and just everything, you know. There's a Tremec 5-speed. See the top of it there. Nice little setup that Hurst has. So I picked up the transmission in the States from Hurst, and they supplied a modified tail section for a Tremec TKO 600. So see, I've got a 2-din stereo there. That's why I'm running my ignition box in the cavity. So I know it looks a bit weird, that's where your steering wheel usually is, but you know, this car was already converted a long time ago, long before I had it, so I'm not going to change it. It's too much dicking around. Dash is all new. I've refurbished all the digital dash, put new film on it. And all supplied by Brian Thompson at batty.com. Nice bloke. He wouldn't rebuild me LCD because it was we modified them when we modified the cars to right-hand drive, and he wasn't prepared to change the 56-pin connector over, but I did. So you know, at least I know how to do it now, and I've helped a couple of mates out here in Australia that have the same sort of change done to their cars. So underneath's been done, it's all new, even though the new suspension components, everything's all brand new under there, spray painted, and she's all diff's been rebuilt. See, it's all done there, all painted underneath. Even though the rotors don't look new, they are. They're just, because they're not getting used, they just have a bit of a surface rust on there. That'll peel up once I hit the picks first time. You can see all under there's painted, all new bushes. This car's going to ride like a brand new car. Come down the pointy end. So that's it. So Dart 434, small block, big cube. Profile on that. So from what I've read, they've done this conversion a couple of times with this intake, and it does fit, but only by 1/4 of an inch. So my plan is to, if it doesn't fit or it doesn't have enough clearance, I am going to lift the hood tastefully just in the centre by about an inch. Probably not even an inch, probably about 1/2 an inch. It won't need much because it does clear by 1/4, so I only really need, you know, just a little bit more, and just to sort of keep it from hitting the bottom of the hood. It'll be all right. Still working on the radiator and a lot of plumbing. Radiator, I'm putting a DeWitt's one in there, but at the moment that's $1,100 landed here in Australia, so the wife would kill me if I bought that at the moment. So I've got to sort of work around it until the dollar improves, until the finances improve, and get it sort of cranking. But I can still sort of do bits and pieces. So at the moment I'm dicking around with the fuel lines, and you can see I'm doing some wiring here. So this is the fast harness. I've totally stripped it, it's far too long. So, you know, but better too long than too short, I suppose. You can see down in here I've got, so with this Dart 434, it's got a set of Dart 230cc heads on it. And you can see the stud pattern there on the header plate. So that's a Stahl pattern. So Dart already pre-countersinked their heads in that pattern. So I basically just took the heads in, and I think it was about $230 Australian, and I had them drilled and tapped to take the normal bolts. So you can see it's going to be tied up there, but we'll get her in there. So I'm going to run 1 7/8 pipes down into a 3-inch collector, and it's probably going to end up down in there. Steering arm's going to be a bit of an issue being right-hand drive, but it's nothing that we're not used to here in Australia, modifying these things to make them fit. Yeah, so all the chassis rails have been sprayed, everything's brand new, man. It's a lot of work. You don't realise how much you do to them until you sort of sit back and take it all in, and when you see stuff coming together you think, bloody hell, you know, it is looking alright. Firewall's completely changed, so you can see I've done the two-tone blue up on that. When I got it, it was black, so I don't like black except for on tyres. So yeah, she looks alright. So that's the goal, to sort of make it look like that when she's finished. Yeah, she's come along fairly good. A lot of wiring here because they move the harnesses around when they do the conversion. And I've had to change a few things and modify the fuse box because when I got it, it was a bit daggy. But yeah, she's come up alright. So once I'm finished dicking around with the fuel injection wiring today, I'm going to run the fuel lines down from this regulator up the top here, and run them straight down like on the same side as the Camaro. Just run them down, and they'll probably end up coming over here. I'll put a join down on the K member, and then run them back along that brace, and then down the chassis rail, and then they meet up with a bracket that I've made on the chassis rail where the factory lines come out, and I've got a sensor in there for the EFI and filter and everything in that location, so should come up all right. I am going to put AC on this car. It's bloody hot in Australia, and I think with that Dart 434, I think my goal is 550, but I reckon it's probably going to be closer to 600, and I'm pretty sure that it can handle AC, so I don't think there's going to be an issue there. So you can see she's bloody tight there. All new wiring. I've put back in the fusible links and run a secondary wiring system for the stereo, and also some firewall plugs there. This is only just mock-up at the moment, but basically the fast ECU needs to have its own positive and negative connection to the battery, which it's got, and then these ones here run through to the car and then run the amplifier in the back of the car, and you know, sort of keep that all sort of separate from the actual car leads themselves. All the fusible links are back in. This car, when I got it, didn't have them in there, and even though they're a pain in the ass, they're there for a reason. So you can see my little adjuster down here. This is also part of the clutch setup I've got up on this. It's a Ram hydraulic throwout, so basically just runs from a factory master cylinder. Line runs down to this adjuster, and I can adjust the pedal feel on that. One line runs back over to the throwout bearing, and then there's a bleeder line that comes out. A few extra relays and switch fuses. That's you know, for the fuel pump, and AC relays are in there, and mostly for the you know, protection of the ECU. I don't want to wreck that fast ECU, so that sits under here. I've posted other videos on this thing fired up, and she still fires up really well. There's the ECU, there's a shitload of wiring, and then obviously the handheld. I'm thinking maybe that can go up in here later, somewhere there. But yeah, nice setup on the hearse box from the hearse shifter there, and just comes straight up through the factory location, and I'll give you a bit more of a look at that. No room in this shed here, boys. Righto, you can see what's going on here. You can see the side winder there, so it's an offset shifter, so they modify the tail section, and obviously run I think it's a forward spline, so that's got a conversion uni in there. So the only drawback to that is that it's a greasable universal joint, so there's going to be grease flicking everywhere. I've been on to Spicer here in Australia, and they said that Spicer no longer make a non-greasable universal joint for that, and that if I wanted to change it, I'd have to have the drive shaft modified. So first time that thing needs to be changed, and I'll take it out, that's what's going to happen. I won't do it now because it's got a new uni in there. It'll last for a while. The only pain in the ass bit of it is going to be the bloody greasing of that universal joint, and I'm going to run a centre muffler under there, Magnaflow one, so it's going to make a bit of a mess. So I'm thinking about putting a bit of a shield in there just to stop all the flicking and that, and try and keep it clean. So greasable unis are good, but they make a bloody mess. So yeah, it'd be good to get something that's not greasable, so that doesn't make a mess. But anyway, that's the hand I've been dealt. So there is a plate to go over that. Part of the conversion kit from Hurst is a plate. So here it is here, sitting there, that get riveted in once I've finalised all that. But yeah, she's not quite ready there to do that yet. So I've got a in this car, I've put a, you probably can't see, I've put a SFI bell housing on it. Oh, there you go. And that's the reason I did that is because obviously these have got fiberglass floor in them in some parts, and I don't want that flywheel coming through the passenger side and hurting my babies. I've got young kids and I've got grandkids, and I don't want any mishap there. Just cruising around, for some reason it decides to fly off and it coming through and hurting my babies. So bit of I mean, that bell housing was $1,000 here, but it's well worth it, I reckon, in the end. So see, no exhaust yet, but we're getting there. That's another one. Morosso oil pan, bloody thing was dear as poison. By the time it got here it was about $900, but that's a 7-inch pan, and as you can see it's roughly in line with the K member. So couldn't run an 8 1/4, they just hang too low, and it's going to be a rock magnet if I did run a 8 1/4 inch pan on this C4, so not going to happen. So anyway, that pan, I had to wait 5 months for Morosso to get them in stock and to send one out, and that sort of delayed the engine going in and all that sort of being finalised. So but now it's in. It's I did have a little bit of a leak, but I fixed all that up, and yeah, so only one of the bung holes wasn't welded in properly, so we sorted that out. I had to check out the windage tray in there because the bottom of the rods did hit that, but no, she's come good. So you can see there, just having that plate there and drilling those heads stops me from using an adapter plate, because it'll add another 10 mil to the side of it, and on the other side near the steering box I don't have 10 mil to spare. So not by the time I bend 1 7/8 pipe, so it was best to just drill the heads, tap them, and just run the stale header plates straight on the head, so she'll run good. So got LS3 injectors in it. 65 pounders, probably overkill for this motor, but it shouldn't be an issue. Run them at supposed to be run at 58 psi. I had them flow tested, and I can actually run them probably at 50 psi. The atomisation was the same, and it seemed to have flow at the specified numbers at 50 psi. So there's probably no need to run them at 58 psi because it's already achieved. Oh, we'll see what happens if it need to run it more, and just run it more. It's no drama. Got to work out some sort of air intake here. Probably looking at a cone filter and a bit of an elbow there, and I've got to plug this IAC plug into it. So I've got to fabricate all that. Probably do it out of aluminium and do it all Mickey Mouse, you know. It'll come up looking good. So you can see the harness over there runs down across the front and then over. So when they convert these, whatever's on the left hand side goes to the right hand, whatever's on the right hand goes to the left hand. And when I got the car, there was wires running over the back of the motor, and there was wires running down on the K member, and I said, right, it makes a bit of a mess. Whatever doesn't need to be near the motor is not going to be near the motor, so I'll just run a little bit of extra wiring, and everything's all been, you know, cleaned up properly. It's got nice joins on it. You got to do it right, eh? Get the spice them together properly, and then clean it all up. So, yeah. See what happens. That blue's killer, I love that blue. Nice car, colour to put on a C4. Yeah, so anyway boys, that's the latest on this 84 Corvette that I've got with 434, and should scare the shit out of some kangaroos I reckon, and hopefully it'll scare me a little bit too. So yeah, anyway, I'll post this up on the YouTube channel, and have a bit of a look, have a bit of a laugh, put shit on me, I don't care. Comment if you're liking what I'm doing, if you've got any questions, just let us know, eh? And I'll try and do my best to give you the information that I know, and that, even if that's the wrong information. So yeah, alright, cheers guys, thanks.